again. There's no way I can remember what I said.
It's all right. You always say something better the second time anyway. You just steal it better. All right, we're on. Take 17.
Door open okay?
Yeah, actually, it's nice. Even if you like get up every 5-10 minutes at the start and just check it. Like,
cut it.
People don't care. Don't even cut it.
Yeah, okay. All right, cool. Well, this is not take 2, so that's good.
Take 1, baby.
Take 1. So, Wallace, welcome to PW World, the first official guest podcast, because I'm going to do an intro.
Pleasure to be within the world.
Of course, plugged into my world.
Yes.
Okay, so for context, this is going to be centered around a weekend away that we've just had, which was 4 days out in the bush with a bunch of guys living in nature, doing a digital detox, eating good food, having campfires, etc. So we'll get into that. But for everyone else to know, Lachie and I have known each other for 15 years, pretty much since high school. Yeah. We've pretty much been alongside each other as we've had huge personal development journeys, started families, ran businesses. I would say many peaks and troughs in life.
Oh yeah.
And I would say that we've always been able to connect with it, like as we're going through these things. We've always sort of resonated with what we're doing, whether it's a book we're reading or a podcast or a philosophy. And not that we always agree, which we've learnt that it actually comes down to there is a common denominator somewhere further down. If you give yourself a chance to talk for more than half an hour, we can always pretty much agree on a point. It's just, I
think fundamentally our belief systems are really aligned.
Yeah.
There's just like nuance and different aspects of it that we probably differ, but on the surface level. But I think deep down it's the same shit's important to both of us.
Yeah, and that became really obvious being away. Like,
oh yeah,
talking to each other for 5 hours in front of the fire, we got down to the bottom of it, and that's a huge thing actually.
Yeah.
To recognize it, like there'd be a lot of opportunity for people to see eye to eye, if you unpack things in a productive way, in a forward-thinking way, rather than like butting heads and living with that right-wrong model, which like I know is a useful model, but I also think that there's if you want to expand on something, if you want to get to an agreement and be productive with how you move forward, I really do think that giving yourself an opportunity to have an open, long-form discussion, is a really effective way to, make progress on whatever it is that you're going
fundamentally, I don't think communication happens for the most part the way we think it does. Like, there's a line that's like the most common misconception around communication is that it happened in the first place. And I think spending time, like we do break that down relatively well together anyway, because there's that, shared respect and time that we've had together. But I think places or spaces like the weekend where you get, essentially an infinite amount of time to boil down ideas, chat through trolley problems, talk about the meaning of life, talk about like the simple things, like have fun, laugh. But you do it in a way that it's disarming because there's not a phone to grab, there's not a book to listen, like a audio book to listen to, there's not a podcast that you're like, oh, I keep, or an episode of a TV show coming out. Like, what you created on the weekend was essentially in the traditional, like, media, capitalistic, like Western society sense, a non-input weekend. Like it's been interesting to think, to resonate on it, or to ruminate on it, of the non-input conversation, because like the fire, the trees, the river, the food, they're all inputs, but it's just completely different definition of an input.
Yeah, not so much. The other inputs you're talking into, to me, they can very easily become distractions. And yes, they are different inputs, but to me, it's like biologically, we're way more congruent with things in nature. For sure. And you see it, like we've all left the weekend with a completely different frame of mind. Yeah. And we still come back into life where all these other inputs are, but it's like you really do come back with a different baseline. And yeah, just like when you do have that space, as you were saying that, I was like, there's no distractions and there's no escapes. And it's almost like you don't want to sit there awkward arguing. So it's like, let's find a solution to like this, like whatever it is, disagreement or, just trying to figure something out altogether. And plus, when you've got 5 people, it's hard to like. Usually, you feel like you don't have much time. Something I noticed, which I absolutely loved. You don't. If we were sitting here for an hour with 5 people, you have so much anticipation to jump in and want to give your opinion and say what you think. That happened at the start. Like we drove up, it took 4 hours.
Bang, 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 bang,
we
bang,
did
yeah.
not stop talking.
Yeah.
We got philosophical, we got existential, talking about relationships and love and business. And then pretty much by the second day, it's like we were just being silly. We're being kids, and it's like we got all that out the way because it's like the pressure to let's hustle and get this, like let's sort this thing out and have a good time.
Yeah.
That disappeared after we realized, we just got all that out of our system. You've been heard. We all gave you space to talk. I had my moment to talk, and everyone had different things that we all worked on together with them. And it was really nice to see that unfold. And then by the end, like the last night, we were all in bed, all awake, all giggling like kids in high school on a camp.
Yeah,
and it was
camp.
like, I was like, this is the most fun I think I've had in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we spoke about this at the start or it was the other first take, but
This is the first take.
this is the first take.
Yeah.
It was
Keep talking. We're on. Keep talking.
I've gone blank now. What was it? Was it about the inputs? I forget.
Always like, so I think the intention of like why we went or what we all wanted to get out of it was really interesting.
Yeah, that was one. Let's just skip to that because my brain will probably do this a lot during this conversation. But pretty much 5 different guys all went away with different intentions. So there was some younger guys there without families. There was a guy who was in a relationship and he was figuring out how to move forward with lots of different things. There was you as a dad and a business owner and a very social person who has a lot on his plate. And so for these guys, they went away for a moment of stillness and like a moment of no inputs to let clarity drop in, so they know who's like what's coming to mind for them. Is that their own thoughts? Is the direction of their life heading in a way that is chosen by them, or is it just like all this noise from all these different inputs, external inputs that it's like it's not them, it's not truly them, because it's like you never get a chance to actually decide. Is this the way that I'm heading? Is this my choice? Or is it like an expectation of society or whatever? Yeah. And just something on the inputs, I think this is what I was going to touch on actually. What was interesting is how much, even though we decided to not have a phone or a computer or even books, there were books there and it was like tempting to go grab the book to read it.
I did pick up a dictionary one day.
That was fun. That was right. You just had it. Lachie was reading the dictionary as we were talking, and he'd like pick a word out the dictionary to suit the conversation. I think it was a really good way to learn new words. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what it was. It could have been like kicking the footy. Yeah. There were so many things that you reach for to distract yourself from the stillness. And I think overall, that is essentially the biggest takeaway that I would love people to get is to be like, when you have nothing and you're out in nature and you're sharpening a stick with a knife or you're drawing in the dirt, something happens and it feels magic and it feels like something that we're moving further and further away from as humans, as a society. And that's concerning to me. And it's also really exciting that we still have access to that.
And I think it's exciting that what you're doing, it's exciting. What you're doing is the antithesis of that. Like it's almost the word that comes to mind, the word I resonate with is like essence, is like the essence of being human, or the essence of being a father, or the essence of being a leader, or a villager in a village. Is like most of modern society, most of our capitalistic structure is pulling us away from that, from the apps that are designed to, chew us or rob us of our dopamine, or the way that we're taught to buy more and consume more and rather than like experience more and love more and appreciate more. And I think what the weekend showed me, individually, was of how much all of that is just noise, and how simple things should be and can be within the bounds of, society. And because I think, and maybe one of the areas we do agree or disagree on, or I wouldn't say disagree, you don't like that word anyway, is we have a little bit of dissonance. Is I'm like, oh yeah, all these things are tools in a toolbox, right? But if we lack the self-awareness and capacity to actually use them as such, they end up being all consuming.
Yeah, we're definitely on the same page.
Yeah, because but I think there's almost an element from our conversations where you're almost like you need to figure out that you don't need it first to then jump back into using it, if that makes sense, like AI or social media or Netflix. So having a space on the weekend where there was none of that was so nice. Like you just get back to the essence of like sunshine, good food, time with friends, like, and it was so much fun.
100%. Yeah, and it's like for me, as to put it simply, collect as many of those moments as you possibly can. Because it's collect moments. It's going to get harder and harder, and like the pull to it's so strong. Like even me, coming from this place, it's so easy for me to reach for a phone and to like. But you got to think like they are designed to do that. Yeah. And so if you're not consciously aware, if you're not consciously taking action to do something about it, like for example, one of the guys who left, he's come back and he can't resist the temptation to reach for his phone sometimes. So he's left his phone outside of his room now. So when he's in bed, it's his sacred sleep time.
Yeah, good.
He doesn't start the day and check his phone and check a notification.
So good.
It's not a to-do list. It's like go outside and put your feet on the earth.
Yeah. The amount of resistance I felt on Monday with like WhatsApp, Messenger, text messages, emails of like, fuck, like I would, if there was a button that I could just delete them all and go, if anything's important, it'll come back to me. Like I would have done it for sure.
You probably could do that.
Just delete it all.
Yeah, I have moments like that as well.
Go live in the river.
I mean, that's the best version of you that I've ever seen is being out in nature without any of those inputs. And it's like we could have, our phones were there. Our phones were in the car. We could have easily just gone and grabbed them. And and it's funny how easy you make excuses as well. Like you've got the family, right? You know they're most likely going to be okay.
Oh, yeah.
They knew what you were doing, but there was something probably in you, which I think you resisted pretty much, maybe a text message.
I had one phone call.
One phone call?
When we went to the servo to get fuel. And like beforehand, I said to KP, I'll probably check in every day. Like I'll give you a call, like I'll check in because I want to hear her voice. I want to, have a quick check in with the girls. And there was that like probably the first when we got like we didn't really touch our phones on the way up. There was maps and a little bit on because we were talking and we were excited. There was like none of that. And then I remember getting there and being like, I was going to send a check-in message, but no reception. Didn't want to connect to the Wi-Fi because, the Starlink, because I was like, I don't want to borrow that. But there was that little bit of friction or resistance around like, I just want to like send the one text, which wasn't necessary. But when I had that quick phone call, I was like, hey, just want to call, check in, tell you guys I love you, I know everything's okay, but I'll see you Sunday. And that 90-second conversation maybe was like exactly what I needed. But it wasn't like I didn't have to do it. But I knew that as soon as I was off that phone call, like phone's off, back in the car.
Yeah. You got to wonder. Do you think that you could actually implement more of that anywhere?
Oh, absolutely.
For example, I get a bit caught up in responding to people and especially my clients that like pay me for programming. I want to make sure that if I write back to them, but it creates a bit of like busyness and task switching, and it's not very productive. So like I've got in my calendar, replies at this time of day, replies at that time of day, either end of the day, and it's like they still get communication daily. And so they're like little things that I realize as well, same as you, where they're sometimes like when you're out there and you're doing nothing, I'll go like this and go to grab my phone out of my pocket when I'm sitting there talking to you guys. I'm like, wow, it's on auto. Everyone's on autopilot now. And the thought that people can't even remember the last time that they haven't been in contact with everyone through this device, or maybe you never do again. Like someone watches TV, someone looks at a screen.
There's always something.
There's always going to be something, but we've just spent the weekend, and we can say that we just spent the weekend doing none of that.
Yes.
And that's fucking cool because you've just been plonked back into your life and you're probably back in the chaos.
Yeah. But like with any experience, you have a choice to like take the learnings from it or just keep going with the chaos, which, I think having like, and probably the biggest thing you implemented that I wasn't expecting it to have such an influence was the no lights, right? Like it was, the first night we didn't have candles or anything, so it was literally just like the fire and then darkness. I'm like trying to find, like, because it was pitch black, right? So I'm like trying to find my way upstairs. You guys were downstairs. I was upstairs. I'm like trying to find my way upstairs. I'm like, I looked at this, like where the rooms were like 8 hours ago. I couldn't remember which room I was in, which one was the bathroom. Like but it was the complete lack, like, you know, it was such a cool thing to experience because as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was out. Like, I was zonked. So, you know, and this is okay, well, what can I do with that learning? Like, I'm big on utilities. Like, I like to have a learning thing, and the utility can just be enjoyment, right? But I like to think that there's a utility to everything. Whereas I said to KP, I was like, because we have some like theme nights in our week. Like, you know, like I love movies, so it's like movie night, or it's like, you know, board games night, or you know, pizza night with the girls. I was like, we should do a no light night. One, because it rhymes, it's fun to say, but also because it was such a cool experience to, you know, not have a phone, not have a TV, not have, you know, your lights just like there, and I know it'll result in better conversation, or it'll result in, like, you know, more intentional time, and it'll result in absolutely it'll result in a better sleep. But I think doing things like that allow you to kind of bring a little bit of calm to the chaos.
Yeah, there are a few things that I didn't really think of with the intention of doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a biological response that I think we're very sensitive to light and stuff, especially after dark, or when it's dark. And something that I noticed, and I don't know if you picked up on it, the first night, pitch black, couldn't see a thing.
Yeah.
Last night, it was like I was walking around the house, I could see everything.
Candles help.
Well, the candles.
But yes,
it's when I went outside to
take
a leak. I went outside to take a leak, and I looked down, I could see everything. I was like, man, I've tuned back into my senses more, and that, okay, there's like senses, even probably taste for us, the temperature on our skin, like the way we felt during the day. We were all, that's what I mean. It's like we whipped back into default mode as like these primal humans, and then you start to think about how the brain works naturally without what we've piled on and learnt, and all these tactics and things that we're used to be more productive as humans. We've got like this natural instinct, and you see it play out in conversations as a group, and it feels more productive because, like I said before, you had a chance to be heard. The other boys, like, they got their space to speak, and that alone, a simple conversation where it's long and deep, you can walk away from that feeling lighter as well, and better. So there's that side of it, but so I guess it's like, it's not only you're more sensitive to your bodily senses, but I think you're more sensitive to emotions and even behavior. Like, you're going to see you connect with your girls differently on a no light night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think like, fundamentally the aspect of it that I got out of, like, you know, because I like reflecting and going, okay, how am I a different version of myself now to last week? And, you know, there's been so many little aspects where like, just that awareness of what habits am I falling back into. You know, if I say shower early and, you know, do all my sleep hygiene stuff at 8 p.m. versus 10 p.m., like, how do I feel different? And how do I show up differently the next day? Even the food, like, you know, knowing that there's a really high calorie, nutritious breakfast, except for when you made me wait till lunchtime.
It's called a fast.
It's called fasting. You know, I know there's a good lunch coming. I know there's a good dinner. I know that we've got, like, you know, berries to chew on at the side of the river, and, you know, do a little caveman doom scroll for a few minutes. Like, there's like those inputs and the simplicity of, like, and I think it boils down to, like, no expectations. Of, like, there's not an expectation to be a certain person or a certain version of yourself. There's not an expectation to, you know, to have to show up for, in my world, my team, our community, at work. Like, it's just, you know, do I want to lay in a hammock or sit by the fire, or, you know, kick the footy, or, you know, slither down the rocks in the river? Like, what feels natural, what feels good, let's go do that.
Yeah, you're very inspirational that way. Like, legit, just a golden retriever hopping around, like seeing something to play with, seeing something to do, and us just being like, whoa, we thought that, like, how we were being in that moment, composed adults. I'm like, that's how you are. And then being out there in nature, it's like, it's true colors. And it was awesome to see. And, like, you've even said coming back that you want to be that version of yourself more as well.
Oh, the silliness, like, and the fun, or the childlike version of myself. Like, I have moments at the gym or at home where I'm, like, dancing with the girls, or, like, doing a backward somersault because I was like, well, I've done a backward somersault today, so I may as well, like, and doing it in a way where, like, it's because like we spoke about a little bit on the weekend, but like how a lot of our lives are performative. Like for me, telling shitty jokes, like doing backward somersaults, and running and belly flopping into the river on the weekend, like that stuff for me isn't like that's authentically like who I am. That aspect of fun and laughter, and like it's a big value of mine is that enjoyment, because fundamentally none of this makes any sense, so we may as well have fun doing it. And I truly believe that, but so much of that is what I say and not reflected in my actions, because I have to be, and this is imagined just as much as it is real, but I have to be the guy that has it all figured out at the gym, or I have to be the leader to my team that can answer any question in a way that's like, hey, we're running a business here, this is serious, which there's elements of that are true, but ultimately when we boil down to the essence of like, I just want to have a fun time, like I want to talk shit with you and play with the girls, and create space for meaningful conversations, but do it in a way where it's just fun. Like you didn't wear pants like all weekend, right? And it freaked me out.
I had shorts on, but they were still camo.
For context, Porky wore his camo pants and camo shorts, just swapping depending on weather. And every time he changed them, I asked him why he wasn't wearing any pants, because I think that fundamentally is one of the funniest jokes in the history of the world.
Yeah, it's super annoying because I love wearing camo pants. Yeah. So it's like, you're not the only one that said it either. People saying it all weekend.
Yeah.
And as you're talking about that, you got to admit that when we first got there, there was that anticipation and tension between everyone, and like excitement. Yeah. And then once we got through all that, and the buzz settled, and we were a bit more stable, it went into the humor. And then I think, imagine another 5 days.
Oh,
what would it turn into then? Because I reckon we had another few days of the silly things we were saying, because there was a bit of a theme with the humor, which we won't mention. But the few days after that, I have a feeling it might have got a bit more serious. People would have got more vulnerable, and I'm like, man, one day I'm going to run a week long.
Oh yeah.
But it was still really useful to at least experience that, because man, and even just hearing you saying that stuff, it makes me so happy to know that like you've got that out of the weekend. And it's like, someone asked me like, what do you think a good coach is? And I said, when you lead people to their own truth. And I didn't go into
good
coaching.
Answer.
Yeah, I didn't go into coaching mode at all.
Yep.
But you've come away more clear on your values, how you want to spend time with your kids. The other guys are doing that in their own way as well. Whatever's relevant to them, it's clear to them now. And I'm like, there'll be some moments where I do go into coaching mode and I can provide value based on what I know and the tools I've used, but I literally didn't have to, because the environment was just set up for it to unfold, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and I think that like on the conversations, it was really interesting, because like Friday I would have said, Thursday when we went up, I would have said like that was our most like philosophical day in terms of like the conversations we were having. But I almost felt like once we did relax, we probably went deeper but in a more authentic way. Like it was almost like there was an element of, these are the conversations we should be having because we're here and we're doing this. Whereas, Friday, Saturday, even Sunday on the way home, there was less like all of that, and it was just natural because it was like that. Someone would say something like one of the most philosophical things ever and super deep and super connected to like why we were there and what we were doing. But then like 4 seconds later, someone's making a fart joke that's everyone's laughing, and then, and it's just that almost like that, that ebb and flow of genuine conversation. Whereas when you're having, or when you're doing it in a way that you're like, I need to get this out, or I need to say my part, or it needs to be, for lack of a better term, performative, and I'm just saying this because I want to sound intelligent or smart or switched on or whatever, it's not as genuine because you're not just being yourself, if that makes sense. So there was almost an element of, the drive up that was really cool, but it was like 80% of the picture. Yeah,
and it's not that it wasn't authentic, but compared to
it was different, though, right?
It was
felt that?
It felt maybe more vulnerable.
I reckon that's a good call.
And to me, that's what most likely, that's not most likely, that is more relevant, or that's more accurate to like human's natural instinct to have
Yep.
conversations and connect. I would say that we did that more because like we've up until like 100 years ago, since technology and things have really picked up,
Yep.
we would have sat around in a room without like
Yeah.
technology. So we would have
Yep.
sat in front of the fire and had conversations. And when you go experience that again, you feel it in your bones, and you're like, "This is it. This is how we're meant to be." And there's nothing wrong with using technology. I just want to say that as well, because
Tool.
talking into as a tool, it's more so the thing that's concerning for me, and I would encourage people to consider for themselves is like, are you justifying it in a way because you're like, I'm using it as a tool, but really it is at the detriment of something, whether it's a relationship or your productivity in your business or what you want to do with your life. Because if you look at 4 hours screen time, 6 hours screen time for the next however long you're alive, that can chew up 10 years of your life looking at a screen.
Crazy when you look at it like that. The compound interest of not living in line with what's important. And I think like a question I like asking you is like, to what end? Like why? Which I think that's almost one of the best questions you can ask as to why you use ChatGPT, why you watch YouTube or whatever it is like, to what end? I'm doing this for X, Y, Z that I want to get out of it. And I do it in a way where it is conducive to the person I want to be, the business I'm building, the relationships I have. Like right now we're recording this on an iPhone where, we've got a wireless mic picking up what we're saying, hopefully. We should check it, by the way. This is take one, BT dubs. Like, there's no way. We've already had this conversation.
Several times.
But yeah, I think they're like, and for me, it's almost like a framework of like self-awareness that facilitates or cultivates the life you want to live. I think we all left on the weekend feeling better about ourselves in different ways, more self-aware, more connected to who we are to each other. We were able to be more vulnerable because we built trust over those few days. And don't get me wrong, we went in with a high level of trust anyway, I think. And I think what you've been able to, cultivate in your mind around what you want to get out of this, first of all, I'm super proud of you for shifting from what you were doing a decade ago to the coaching to what is like. I'm so excited to see what these immersions unplug, what the Unplugged series shifts into, because I think it's exactly what society needs. Not because the other half is bad, but just because the other half a lot of the time isn't conducive to where we're going. So you're almost shifting back to the essence of what's important. And I'm the weekend was awesome. I loved every minute of it. And I was really grateful for what you created. And I think that as we spoke about on the weekend, each one's going to be different based on who's there. You're going to learn from each one. I'm talking too much, but you spoke about over-engineering it and not wanting to do that. And then, we got halfway through a hike on Saturday and you're like, yeah, I'm not doing a hike like this again. Because it was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was, I guess, what changed for you from the, Paul on Thursday morning before we got in the car to Paul yesterday reflecting on it?
Thanks for asking me a question.
You're welcome.
On my podcast. I look at it two ways. I look at it as the host, and then I look at it as me being away. And so as the host, I'm like, hey, I'm building a business. I'm providing an opportunity for people to exactly what you're talking into, whatever that looks like for the individual. I get to provide an environment for people to drop into that. Yeah, and that it fills me up I can't even explain. That's what pursuing your purpose is. That's what having a purpose is. That's what's going for it is, and it really does fill my heart and my soul up. And it's almost a feeling that it is hard to articulate, but that's what was coming over me through the whole weekend. And then me as a person, as a dad, as a business owner, as someone who cares about health and being very mindful not to paint technology as this terrible thing, as you said, a tool, but more so thinking about it there's really useful ways for us to act. There's really useful tools that are that is in more alignment with nature.
Yeah.
That I think that they're tools to be incorporated more and more as the world heads in this direction. And so, like, as I'm away, I'm like, I'm getting so much out of this myself. But to be honest, when I came back, and it was exciting to see the kids, and I just wanted to talk to Elise about it. And I'm having a conversation with Elise, and Forrest is like, "Can we watch a movie? Can we watch a movie?" And the phone's going off, and I'm talking to everyone on my phone, and it was this. It's so easy just to go, bang, slap in the face, and you're back to reality. And so that was my experience. But that being the first retreat that I've ran, I already know to give a day of integration, and I would recommend that for everyone else as well. So whether or not you go stay somewhere on your own, or you just expect that, like, hey, you're going to go back into your normal everyday life, and you're probably going to be met with a surprise. I learned that on the trip, and it's almost like maybe don't have any expectations, because I come home and I thought I'm going to do work, and I had check-ins and for my existing members through personal training, and I almost wanted to get all this done and talk to Elise and play with the kids. And then I sort of ended up like my nervous system just like contorted again after just fully letting go. Like after day 2, I was just like, I'm sweet. I'm at baseline. Like I felt the tension in my body disappear. Even the noise and the I don't know, like the dissonance in my brain, it all shifted and all settled, and I felt exactly how I wanted to feel. Like the intention that I had gone into it, I felt it straight away.
That's cool.
And then coming out of it, what I learned was there needs to be time for integration, because it's a completely new model. It's a new perspective. You're dropping into a new identity almost. And I think one of my favorite things is if I'm preaching to you or one of the other boys, like, don't have your phone in your room, I'm doing the same thing as well, right? Like there's some incongruence there if I'm saying like go do all these things and I don't do it. So I actually, what I'm realizing is the more that I express this to people and share what I'm learning and saying like, hey, this is a really useful way to like manage your health or your mind. I've actually got quite a lot out of like preaching that or sharing that, because it's keeping me accountable as well. So even yesterday afternoon, we went to the beach.
Yeah.
And
nice.
you know, like I talk a lot about intuition, and what I'm saying is intuition's getting cut off by how things are. And so over the weekend, I was listening to my intuition. I was making mental notes, and I was like, wow, there's so much dropping in that I'm sort of numb to when I'm living life and I'm busy. And then when I came back, I had this expectation of working. I was feeling uneasy. There was this weird friction that I was feeling, and I stopped for a second. I put my computer down, and I was like, Elise, let's go to the beach. Went to the beach, just playing in the water, sitting in the sun, and she goes, hey, thanks for recognizing that this is exactly what I needed, because I could tell. And I was like, probably would have ignored that sensation or that feeling unless I'm starting to tune into that intuition or that the gut feeling, whatever you want to call it. You can actually tune into that. And I think that's what I'm saying is that is the number one thing that is being lost. The more we outsource, like, I don't know, our own power to think about something, our own agency, we're losing more and more of that. So you can see how it all ties in. But perfect. There was a takeaway for me personally. It was like I listened to my intuition, and I got a comment on Elise saying essentially, thanks for listening to your intuition. And I love that. And then I was able to drop in and be more present with the kids and stuff. So dude, I'm just so excited, because every single person that comes to this is going to have their own version of that. And I can't wait to talk to other boys to see what they got out of it. And would you say that what you expected to get out of it was actually very different to what you did get out of it?
Yeah, I think, and like you mentioned before, I probably went in with a bit of a different headspace than the other boys, just in the, you know, where we're at with business and life and things. Like, I think I wasn't looking for anything. Like there wasn't like, you know, I took a fresh book, empty book, and on the first page I just wrote like, I don't feel like before. I think it might have been just as we got there. I just wrote a little note to myself. I was like, I don't really feel like I'm searching for anything right now. Like there's no question I want answered. There's no like gap I want filled. This is, and I think I should have brought it, but it was something along the lines of like, this is about being present, enjoying myself, and like tapping into, like, I don't think I use the word intuition, but essentially how I'm feeling and what I need. And like, it's interesting you saying the, like, you know, the preaching side of things, because we ask everyone when they come into Virtus, we ask like, what do you feel as though you need right now? How are you feeling? What is it you need? Because we're there to give it to them, right? Like if they need a big session or they need to hit a PB or they need just time to chat, they need, a drink of water. I want them to be able to like tap into that, but it was almost that like, I need to ask myself that question more often, which, I like it's part of my, day to day most days of writing something, like writing a little note to myself or doing a journal entry or whatever. But yeah, I think I went in with I don't really need anything. I just want to enjoy myself and have a good time. And what that brought out was probably like, dude, you need to like be silly more often. And like I said before, like life is fun. I do shit I enjoy. I do things I love to do with people who I love to do it with, but I'm probably a little more rigid than I would like. Like the weekend reminded me of a version of myself that's just like, do the thing. And if you're like even last night I went for a run and did some pliers by the pool, and like I reflected on it when I got inside, but I was like, me on the weekend would have just like cannonballed into the pool in my clothes and then gone inside and been like, I need a towel.
Yeah, exactly.
But I didn't do it because I was like, I can't be bothered doing, pulling all my clothes off and having a shower now because I want to have it later. And so there was almost that like, but I think the thing that the weekend helped with was the awareness of that I should have just jumped in the pool.
Yeah, you 100% would have jumped in if you were with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Like, how many moments are you missing out on because your logical mind kicks in and you go, well, if I jump in the pool, my clothes are going to be wet. I'll have to go inside. My runners will be wet. I'll have to clean this. And it's like you can see how you just do your own head in by overthinking shit. And I think a lot of magic and probably what you need to get out of life is going to come from that place of acting from pure like, hey, I feel like doing this. There's obviously very appropriate time to think logically.
There was one time I was standing on top of a rock and I was like, pretty sure this river's deep enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well, or we were going to jump off and we're like, can you go test the waters?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely moments, but yeah, honestly, seeing you pick up picnic tables and eat wild blackberries.
Forgot about that.
Doing all these things, it was cool. It actually, watching you inspired me to be like a bit more silly as well. So yeah, there you go. Well, I hope that like people listening to this, like they resonate and they get to see for you someone who could easily justify not going because you don't need it and you are sweet. For someone like you to come along and to experience it that way and to like, will life ever be the same again? I don't know. You've done things like this before, but like a seed has been planted, and I think right now you could be lost in the soup of modern life and get to the end of your life and go, well, I was pretty busy my whole life and I'm a bit unfulfilled. Yep. Or what I'm saying is tune into yourself and know what your next steps are based on your gut feeling. And I see that as being a much more fulfilling life. And it doesn't mean you don't build the business, and it doesn't mean you're not still busy and you do everything.
Yeah.
I think it's really imperative to have moments where you are tuning into yourself and doing nothing and being okay with doing nothing.
We spoke on the weekend about moments, like about creating moments, or moments will happen and then we'll be able to like reflect on it. Like Monday morning was like, here are my moments for the weekend. Like, and they were the most random things. And I think it's really easy. Like I've done versions of that before. Like I've done solo ones. I've done, one with Banksy where I took her away and we sat in a cabin for 3 days and looked at the stars and watched the fire and stuff. And like, it's a really different experience doing something like that versus doing it with a group, because I think there's so much value. You can see where other people are at and learn from them and things like that. And like we all get stuck in the everydayness of life, right? Like I think there's an element of beauty to the everydayness of like, just showing up, ticking the boxes, smiling, enjoying yourself, but then also carving out time to do something like this where it's where it's something new. Like, how often, when I think I asked the boys a question on the weekend, I was like, when was the last time you did something for the first time? And like doing it in that way, like I've never bench pressed a picnic table before. Have now.
I have.
Yeah. Daily picnic press. But it's like, I think the difference for me, like, and what I think the Unplugged retreats will bring to people is that intention. Like like, we talk about intention as part of training. It's like, you can do your rep or you can move it with intent, like completely different outcome. And I think life, when lived the way most people want to live it, is live with intention. Even if it's everydayness, it's just like taking a moment to like appreciate the, what you've got in front of you at work, or the, the drop, like school drop off with your kids, or the, even if you're doing something that you have to do, like, I don't know, grocery shopping, it's like you're walking through the fruit and veg aisle being like, how cool is it that there's 17 different types of apples? Like, just bringing it an attention and awareness to like day to day. I think that's almost everyone will get their own thing out of it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think everyone will get what they come for, but there'll be aspects of like, oh, I didn't know I was going to get that. I think the benefit most people will feel from this, whether you think you need it or not, it will be the like intention and appreciation for like what you have rather than like what you don't have.
Yeah, that's so cool. So there's a fella, Tom Clark, who he's part of our network. He's a coach to all us guys who are entrepreneurs, and he actually explained something when it comes to calling something into your life, when you're building something. His explanation was like, when you have, let's just say your goal is to have a house and $10 million in the bank, and you wake up and you have a coffee and you're like, what am I going to do for work today? And you're like thinking about a million things, checklist, to-do list, rushing around, busy. He goes, you can sit there and sip that coffee like you have that house.
Oh, yeah.
Like you have that life.
Yeah.
And he goes, close your eyes and feel the energy and the frequency in the moment of that. He's like, you're more likely to call that life in with less friction.
Yeah.
And that's what you're watering the seed with. You're nurturing it with like this calm energy. You've got composure. There's purpose and like true meaning behind every step you take, rather than this like being super reactive.
Yep.
And that's what and it's simply just it's an intention thing, because you're doing school pickup before you left. You've come home and just school pickup, do exactly the same thing. Nothing really changes. Like besides the perspective thing. And
yes.
I like to think that coming on this life, my aim is to make sure that when people leave, life is never going to be the same again, which is the rite of passage. So if you go through a rite of passage, we came up with this definition on the trip. It's like a rite of passage pretty much means that you transcend or you self-actualize in a way, or you go up a level in consciousness.
There's no going backwards, right?
There's no going backwards. You're not. You're never going to be the same again. So to me, that's what this is all about. And where do you think that lands for you? Like, can you see life never being the same again from something that came to you over the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the simplicity and the almost like elimination of the noise that just brings out like an authentic version of yourself, which like we spoke about on the weekend a little bit of like, there's a different version of you in everyone's minds, right? So, when we take away the need to curate what that version is and allow us to just worry about the version that we are now, because this version that I am now is different because of the inputs and the exploration and the enjoyment and the conversation and the experience of the weekend. The way I, and like the weekend is a space that forces the wrong word, but almost like cultivates that that awareness or that learning, whereas it will give you the capacity to then take that to then go, hey, on school pickup tonight, like I can greet Lucy in a slightly different way that makes her smile bigger and has more fun, or I can like, chuck Billy on my shoulders before she asks, and bounce around to the shops and go get him a piece of fruit from Coles, like we get one from the fucking big dogs of capitalism. We go, yeah, free piece of fruit, and then we get out of there. So it's like, like that's fun, right? Like, but it's just like carving out that little bit of awareness and tweak to like go, hey, like you read, what did you read? Watch Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
I watched it, yeah.
Yeah, watched it. So, one of my favorite quotes from anything is like, there are no ordinary moments. And I think the weekend and the space that you created on the weekend reminds you of that, but allows you to do it in a way where you're like, you get to experience every moment of that trip. And we could sit here for a couple of hours and just list the moments of like cooking steak on a barbie and watching it go up, or like feeling my way up the stairs and because there were no lights on, or like sitting there around the fire like laughing about something dumb that one of us has said, or like there's 100 of them. and I think, or the thousands of them, I think that what this will bring for people is just that, like, you know, first of all, that exhale that then allows you to actually, like, not worry about, you know, all of the stresses you have, but actually, you know, sit in yourself and go, well, who am I? What do I need? How am I going? You know, you can have the transcendent conversations with people and with yourself, but it's more about, like, you're doing that from a place of, like, I have everything I need. I don't need to be a different person or carve anything out. I just need to continue to, like, tap into what's inside, what I need, where I'm going, and do it with a group of like-minded people who will challenge you and give you space to, like, figure it out for yourself with a little bit of help. You like that?
Yeah, loved it.
Good.
Love the way you articulated that. Like, makes me so happy that's what it's been. That's the potential that it has, and it's going to continue to evolve and grow and stuff. And, like, I just want to say thank you for the encouragement and advice and guidance. And again, like, what's a good coach? To me, leading people to their own truth, that's very much been you. It's like, you had a lot of suggestions while we're away. We're all sitting around the fire waiting to hear what you had to say, because you're that wise old leader. And
Not that old.
I just have to say, like, that crew that we went away with, it was a perfect way to go feel it out and to explore it. And you've made it, like, really enjoyable. You made it what it was. And yeah, I'm actually really pumped to have you on the next one. Or down the track, we'll do our yearly getaway, yearly Unplugged immersion. But
yeah, absolutely.
I'm stoked that that's what it's been for you. And the best thing is, I think that's a knock-on effect. So whether or not it's KP or people in the gym or your kids, they get this version of you that, like, you know, comes back recharged in a different way. So there's a bigger picture to it as well. It's not just all about a selfish sort of reason for yourself doing it.
If anyone sees me grumpy or tired or stressed, just tell me to fucking pick up a picnic table and press it over my head.
Yeah, go jump in a river. Seriously, you've never seen Lachie like this before, but it was epic.
It was a fun time.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, man. I feel
Good from you.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you. If you have anything to say, no, you good?
No, proud of you. Doing good.
Love you, dog.
The world's a better place to having the Unplugged retreats in it.
Oh, let's go.
Good from you. Oh shit.
Is it recording?
I hope so.